Hello, welcome back to the channel. Here we go. Football is life. Now, we've got a bumper episode because we've just had the Easter weekend full of football where, I couldn't get on. Been a busy Easter weekend, as I suppose it has been for all of you out there. And I hope you've had a great Easter weekend. That means there's loads of football to catch up on, loads coming this week. I hope everybody's had a great weekend and looking forward to the football coming up this week. We've got a bumper week of big European football, so loads to look forward to. Hope everyone's safe out there and doing well. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. There's a few, headlines to tuck into here, definitely. All good. Really couldn't wait to get back on camera and speak to you all. We're obviously going to start with a quick roundup. I know it feels like a bit of a lifetime ago, but the weekend's action in the FA Cup. We obviously had a lot of big things happening as well in football and English football for all the clubs. At the bottom and the top. Championship, League One, League Two. Lincoln City getting to the Championship. Unbelievable news. Not a massive club. They've got investment. Good manager this season, so congratulations to Lincoln. They've got to be my first shout out going up to the Championship, and what a season they've had. Something like 20 odd games unbeaten, and getting over the line, and they fully deserve it. So well done the Imps, up they go. Not many would have predicted that at the beginning of the season either, so really brilliant for them. So well done the Imps. They got to the Championship, and how are they going to get on in the Championship? We'll wait and see, but I think they'll adapt all right. I think they could surprise a few. So really, really good news for Lincoln City fans, and well done to them. And then obviously we have to start Liverpool. Liverpool v Man City. What are Liverpool playing at the moment? They just looked all over the place at Man City. Just a shadow of that Jurgen Klopp era. And, Arne Slot come in, won the league, with a Klopp squad, I suppose. But, his signings this season, only a couple have hit the ground running. And, they started okay in the game. Wirtz and Ekitike, two of the good signings, I suppose, that you could say, looking well, linking up. And you thought, Liverpool could have a good day. But then after the first quarter of an hour, and then when Man City took charge, I mean, boy, did they take charge. They looked like the Man City of old. I mean, they really, really did. And Pep, has brought in a lot of players, a lot of transition, icons, I suppose, leaving Man City. It's taken time, but boy, do they look like the City of old. They really look like they're going to be, a force to be reckoned with again. And I think a real message, on Saturday in that FA Cup tie, City 4, Liverpool 0, a real message to not only Liverpool, Arsenal, just the rest of the league, come and catch us maybe. But I know City have got to get there again, but, they are my tip already for next season. I just think they're looking in a really good place, and they're just, that performance on Saturday was just like the Man City of old, where they dictated the play, the little short passing, then explosive forward play. And Liverpool just could not deal with it. Just could not handle. And although Liverpool have been poor, looked quite poor on the day, and worrying signs for Liverpool with the squad. And just defensively, they're just Van Dijk, Konate, Kirkez has been a bit wild this season. It's definitely not a fullback that's going to, accumulate a load of clean sheets. They've got a bit of a goalkeeping kind of issue now with the goalie coming to kind of the end of his playing day. He's still a top goalie, but, a lot there to be worked on with Liverpool. And I think they've got a massive job to do. They've still got to qualify for Europe, and there's teams chasing for those places. But it really, really does look like a sorry time for Liverpool. You've got Szoboszlai at the end, questioning the fans. To be honest, don't do that. I mean, they were that poor, Liverpool. You were lucky you had any fans left in the ground at the end at all. And I know a lot left early, and you could say you should stick by your club through thick and thin, but it really was poor. It must have been such a horrible game to watch as a Liverpool supporter. And, Man City looked good. And, you know, we've got Arsenal as well. Arsenal, you know, against City in the cup final. City again looked streets above in that cup final. Did a real job on Arsenal. Pep kind of bringing the magic back. And then Man City beating Liverpool 4-0. You know, and also Arsenal just going out of the cup. You know, another team, just like we said about Liverpool, we could go in more two-footed, but, you know, I won't. But Arsenal as well, what are they doing? I mean, the rotation didn't work. They kept Kepa in again, didn't work in another big game. And you've just given away two massive chances of silverware, the treble, quadruple, and you've just thrown it away. You've thrown it away against City in the final at Wembley, and you've gone to Southampton thinking you could get away with it in the quarterfinal. This is the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. Like, you should know historically, teams will provide shocks. Teams will put you out on the day if you are not good enough away from home. And Arsenal, again, just look like a shadow of what we've come to expect. And it's really worrying. And now, I suppose, as you look at the title, I thought it was over. I thought it's Arsenal's league. But after this and what's happened the last couple of weeks and the way City look, I don't think the title's over at the moment. You know, if Man City win their game in hand, it gets cut to 6. If they beat Arsenal as well, it gets cut to 3. And you wouldn't put it past Arsenal having another couple shaky days the way it's looking and kind of finding that form. It just seems to be completely lost. So, you know, City are really going to push. They're really going to push Arsenal. They look like they're not going to stop. Pep's not going to stop. They just look like they're improving. It might be too late this season, possibly. But, you know, if Arsenal win it now, I think they'll feel really, really kind of fortunate and kind of lucky, because I don't think it's going to be as easy next season. And I really don't think this season is done. It's going to be a really, really interesting till the end of the season now to see what happens. But, you know, you wouldn't be backing against City making it really, really squeaky on current form and just Arsenal and, you know, looking out of sorts. So really, really interesting. That kind of wraps up the weekend. Obviously, another good results, you know, the ones that I've kind of predicted as well was Leeds. Just fancy Leeds to get through against West Ham. So Leeds go to Wembley as well, you know, and there'll be a tough semi-final on the day for anyone. But yeah, loads to kind of comprehend, I suppose, and think about. But City are not to be ruled out. And it's a worrying time for Liverpool. It's a worrying time for Arsenal for different reasons. Liverpool, can they get back to this greatness? I mean, Mo Salah as well, on his way out. That kind of legacy is not going the way you wanted it for Mo Salah, so, which is quite a sad story really, because he's been a great, but he looks the shadow of the player. Liverpool look the shadow of the team. Arsenal just need to find some form very, very quickly, or this title could really be in doubt. So, you know, what do we reckon on that one? Let us know, comment and subscribe. Let us know what you think. But it very, very much is squeaky bum time. And you just got the feeling that Guardiola is lapping this up. He's looking forward to what's coming ahead and being the underdog and putting the pressure on Arsenal and seeing what they do, I suppose. But that City-Arsenal game is just going to be massive, isn't it? A really, really massive day that will be. And then we go on to a little topic I want to speak about, just more in terms of the Champions League places and your Chelseas and your Liverpools and your Villas kind of staggering over that line. Who's been the most impressive, I suppose, out of... Well, they've both been impressive, and the reason I want to talk about them is they've both got a chance for Champions League football. They've got an outside chance. They're both only like 3 points off a potential Champions League place in 5th. Is Keith Andrews at Brentford and David Moyes at Everton. Who has been the most impressive team and manager this season out of the two of them? They both deserve massive credit. I took a look at the league table this morning because this is the time of the season where you can kind of really evaluate the season with a few games remaining. And you look at Brentford, most people with Thomas Frank going would have said Brentford's going down. So I just think the job he's done at Brentford, getting Igor Thiago up front and just turning him into a worldie now, playing for the Brazilian team, has been massive. And he deserves massive credit. And Brentford have had a really, really good season. And David Moyes at Everton, a new stadium, going into a new stadium is exciting, but it's always normally hard to really find that home in the first season of a new stadium. And yes, they've got some results at home, and we know their away form has been incredible for David Moyes and Everton, but they're both up there, Brentford and Everton, and that. Yes, they've got to do a little bit of work with your Liverpools, your Villas and your Chelseas, and it's not going to be easy, but there is a real chance that if they put a real run together now, Brentford or Everton, of winning, 6 games now to the end of the season, that one of them two teams could get an opportunity to play in the Champions League, which is incredible. I mean, Everton, can you imagine Champions League in the new stadium? Absolutely incredible story. And them or Brentford, they're both solid football clubs this season, and if they got there, they would deserve their chance. And it's a bit like Bodo Glimt in the Champions League, getting in, being that small town. Not that Everton or Brentford, they're in London or Liverpool, two big footballing cities in this country, but they could get into the Champions League and they could make waves, and it's incredible in story. You got the likes of Brighton and Fulham below them that have had good seasons. Fulham, I suppose, if we're talking about good managers with Andrews and Moyes, Marcus Silva again at Fulham's, in the top 10, solid Premier League club, with the likes of Bournemouth kind of struggling and moving down the league a little bit this year and losing big players. So, there's a few teams that have had great seasons, but Brentford or Everton, if one of them can make it and have an incredible run, who's going to do it? Brentford or Everton, but they both deserve a massive, massive shout going into the end of the season with a chance of really European or Champions League football. So, yes, Champions League could be a little bit out of depth, but Europa, most certainly, both clubs looking really, really strong. So well done to them too. But interesting now to see till the end of the season how far they get. And then I suppose there's two other points that I wanted to speak about before we head into the European action this week. The big kind of European football is obviously De Zerbi. I spoke about him on my last episode, saying what I think a massive appointment that will be. He's obviously now in. He's in at Spurs, come through the door. There's a few clips coming out of him working tirelessly on the training ground already, looking to put his philosophy of play into Spurs. I think Spurs need more than that at the moment. I don't, if we start playing out from the back and taking risks, we're not at that stage. We're definitely stay in the Premier League. But can De Zerbi do it? I think he probably will, but I think it will be tight with them, West Ham and Leeds. But long term, I think it's a great appointment. He's already come out and said, if we go down, I'm sticking by the club, I'll get you back up type thing. But, he has got an opportunity to keep Spurs up now. And it'll be interesting to see if De Zerbi takes one or too many risks, I suppose, in terms of the style of play at this stage. Or will he just go very sensible, long ball from the back? Let's then try and play in the opponent's half and just try and gain Spurs the results they need. With my sensible hat on, that's what he needs to do. That's what Tottenham needs to do. It's not the time yet to kind of insert that pretty De Zerbi play through all of the thirds. I think they've got to do it step by step. Just get over the line, keep Tottenham up, and then really try and imprint that for next season, because it's been a shambles for Tottenham. Barring the European win, the last couple of years in the Premier League has been shocking. It must have been horrible to support and watch them week in, week out. I think the big thing is the first thing he needs to do is get some solid home form and get some results at home. That will breed confidence, but we are running out of time. So will he keep them up? Tottenham fans, let us know. There's other clubs in that relegation scrap, and it's going to be interesting now till the end of the season. But De Zerbi's an interesting one, and will he keep Spurs up? And then another point I just wanted to talk about was, I suppose, with the Arsenal thing and them not really hitting form at the moment and having a bit of a shocker coming out of cup competitions. Max Dowman's been playing and he looks great, but he's a kid. He's 16. He's been put into the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, starting, with this squad rotation. And yes, it's good for his long-term development. He's playing at the top level but was it the game to throw him in? He probably was Arsenal's best player on the day in what was a poor kind of performance. But Arsenal have obviously had these injuries. They're looking to rest players. The league is the most important thing. But the reason I wanted to talk is Bukayo Saka. Now, let us know out there what you think. Now, he's a great player. You know, I rate him. He's been great for Arsenal, great for England. But what defines world class in a footballer? Is Bukayo Saka world class on that top level, or is he just very good? Now, he's a good player. He wins a lot of free kicks. He's very hard to defend 1v1. He does get his share of assists and goals, although that has dropped off a wee bit to usual levels. But you know, is top class and elite level, is that contribution week in, week out with goals, assists, game in, game out. You know, even the Haalands of this world have incredible kind of outputs, but sometimes they go through games, like Haaland went through like 6 or 7 games without really scoring, gets a hat-trick on Saturday, and he's classified as world class, I suppose, because of those numbers. But yes, Saka's a different player, a winger, a wide man, but he's a modern wide man that produces assists and goals. But is he just very good, or is he world class? All right, let me know. Really interested to know what you think. I think he's on the border, and I think maybe for England in the summer, going to England in a World Cup, producing, getting the World Cup home for England and being the star man might just be the thing that kind of turns that tide between being a very good player and a world-class player. One thing's for sure is when he doesn't play for Arsenal, you notice it. You know, Madueke's filled in admirably. Why didn't he start, you know, in that game? They went with Dowman, tried to risk it, but I think when Arsenal are without Saka, it's a real noticeable difference. So yeah, world class or just very good. And then we go on this week. Exciting, so exciting. The Champions League is here. Quarterfinals starts tonight and tomorrow. And then probably even more exciting was looking at the Europa fixtures for the quarterfinals on Thursday. So big games for English clubs this week. And we're going to look at them quickly. We've got tonight, we've got Real Madrid versus Bayern in the first quarterfinal in the Champions League. Now, this is just a massive tie because everybody's going to be pointing to Bayern. Bayern, you know, look like one of the top clubs in Europe. There is a question mark over Harry Kane's fitness, which would make a massive impact and made a massive impact in their Bundesliga game on the weekend, losing away, so without Kane. But Real Madrid have a real habit of getting over the line, knowing what it takes in the Champions League, getting to finals, winning the Champions League. But I've got to back Bayern. I've got to back Bayern over these 2 legs. I think Madrid can do it, and they could do it on their night and over 2 legs. But I just think Bayern will be too strong attacking-wise. They can get at Real Madrid, and over the 2 legs, I think Bayern will go through. And tonight, I think it will be a barnstormer. I think they'll be going to go back and forth. Madrid can score at home. I don't think they'll score so many in Germany, so this is their opportunity tonight. But I think on the counter that Bayern will they'll be able to score at the Bernabeu and get a couple. So, and I think that's what will see them through to the semi-final overall. So I'm going to go Real Madrid 2, Bayern Munich 2, and a really, really massive, exciting game tonight in the Bernabeu for sure. And the other one tonight is obviously English interest. We have Arsenal away at Sporting. I suppose out of the quarterfinal team, Sporting probably the most surprising one, getting through against Bodo. But this will be totally different, playing Arsenal. But Arsenal at the moment, you just really don't know what you're going to get. I just hope that maybe they've prioritised League and Champions League over the other 2 competitions. And there's an explanation as to why they've just wimped out of those competitions, you know, in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So Sporting v Arsenal, massive game. I mean, Sporting are capable of winning in Portugal at home and giving Arsenal more turmoil here. And a really difficult night. Arsenal obviously don't want that. We don't want that being a British podcast. We want Arsenal going through. We want all English teams going through. But it's a tough night. It could be a horror show. It could be a Sporting 2-3-0. And you could see that happening. But I cannot back that. I think Arsenal tonight, of all nights, really need to turn up and show the real Arsenal that the quality squad that we've come to expect and that level that they've shown all season. So Sporting 1, Arsenal 2, Arsenal with an advantage, a massive advantage to go through is my prediction on that one. On Wednesday night, then we have Barcelona v Atletico Madrid, the other tie in the Champions League that doesn't involve an English team. And a really interesting one there, hard to predict. Can Barcelona's exciting flair and possession outwit Simeone's strong, really strong, kind of formidable, tight, compact unit with the counter-attacking threat that they pose with the Alvarezes, the Lookmans of this world, so the Griezmanns. So, I mean, that's just another really impossible tie to call. An all-Spanish affair, which is big in Spain. But Barcelona really need to get a real headway and an advantage going into the second leg here, being the home team. So, you would fancy maybe Barcelona to maybe edge it, but I will go for Simeone here. I back Simeone just to be one of those horrible managers, horrible to get through, get a gritty draw in the Nou Camp tonight, and then maybe take it back to the second leg. So I'm going Barcelona 1, Atletico Madrid 1. And then the hardest one, the most horrible one to predict for English football has got to be Liverpool going to Paris Saint-Germain tomorrow. Now, I think Liverpool are in a bad state of repair. I really think against the elite in Europe, they're going to show that they're not quite at it this year. And just going to PSG, the worst place you can go, a really dynamic, unbelievable side. And I just think Liverpool are not. I just think they're going to get opened up here. And just doom and gloom, I'm afraid, Liverpool. But yeah, PSG, early goal at home, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, it's just going to be too much. Vitinha pulling the strings. And I'm going to go PSG 3, Liverpool 1. And that one goal maybe for Liverpool could be a lifeline going back to Anfield. But I just don't see much hope there for Liverpool, I'm afraid. And a real tough assignment. But there's probably a lot of people that agree. Comment, let me know, can Liverpool get through v PSG? I think it'll be a mighty, mighty achievement if they do over 2 legs. But Anfield is always a special place in the second leg. So if they can keep it tight, they could get through, but I just can't see it. I think PSG will be too much and too much tonight. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night. And then Thursday, European action. I mean, it just looks amazing, these fixtures. The last 8 now, real good fixtures. Whether English teams can get through, who knows? But we've got Bologna versus Aston Villa, which is tough. Italian team, decent team, final stages competition. I think Villa are really up against it over 2 legs. Porto v Forest. I mean, Forest have come a long way. They're struggling in the Premier League. They're still fighting to stay up. And you've got to go to Porto on a Thursday night in the Europa. Is so tricky. And Crystal Palace v Fiorentina, which another, good Italian team and really tough. And these games now are massively impossible to predict, I suppose, at the business end of the season. But we're going to try. We're going to go Bologna 1, Villa 0. But Villa with a chance to get through in the second leg. But it's going to be a tough assignment over there. No word about it. No fools about it. It's going to be so tricky. I think if they come back with a 1-0 defeat, it probably isn't a bad result, and it gives them chance at Villa Park. Porto v Forest. Sorry, Forest, but this is the one where I think it's going to be too much. I think Porto at home, strong. You'd love to think if Forest get a goal that they still have a chance, but I'm going to go Porto 2, Forest 0. And Forest maybe their time over in this competition, although they've had a good campaign. I think the Premier League is just too important, and I can't see them getting through. And then Crystal Palace v Fiorentina. I think Fiorentina over 2 legs, very tough. You've got to go to Italy with something. So this is my ray of light in the podcast this week, is that I think Crystal Palace can do it. I think they can beat Fiorentina at home 1-0 at Selhurst Park and maybe have a chance of going through to the semi-finals. So, yeah, that rounds it up. Obviously, great to get back on camera. Loads to discuss. Loads seems to happen in football, doesn't it? Really quickly. So to keep abreast of the information, I am doing regular episodes, all right, during the Easter holidays. I'll be back during the week to see how these games wrap up in Europe this week. But yeah, loads to talk about. Liverpool's demise, what's going on with Liverpool, what's going on with Arsenal. Can Brentford or Everton get over the line? Bukayo Saka, is he world class? Let me know. And the European games, let us know now. The video will be uploaded. Let us know what you think. Are the English teams going to have a mare this week in Europe, or have we got some hope? All right, take care. If you're going to a game this week, enjoy it. Massive European football. Or if you're going to the Championship or League One games or League Two this week, enjoy. All right, stay safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Football is life.